It's a common stereotype, self-perpetuated throughout history. Rich people are cheap. We've seen this demonstrated and exaggerated in everything from fictional characters like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons and Ebenezer Scrooge from A Christmas Carol, all the way to real-life examples including the famous movie star Cary Grant, who would charge his house guests for doing laundry, or oil billionaire H.L. Hunt, who would park blocks away from his office just to avoid a 50-cent parking fee. So why is this? And is there actually some truth to say that rich people are generally cheaper than most? Well, to really understand this, we have to dig deeper into the psychology of becoming wealthy and get to the source of where it all begins. And what a better place to start than with the Fidelity Millionaire Outlook Survey, which analyzed the investing attitudes and behaviors of more than 1,000 millionaire households. As I read through this, really one of the more pertinent revelations was that from the millionaires sampled, 86% of them were self-made, and even more remarkable was that 78% of them started out as middle class or poor. I really think that's an important.
I'll start out by saying that I like Graham Stephan's videos. I like the idea of being frugal and creating wealth long term. I like the idea of investing in real estate, investing in mutual funds, not buying into the commercialism that so many people do. However, he highlights the fact that over 80% of millionaires are self-made. That's good. I admire a self-made millionaire. I admire someone who, through their own work and through their own thrift, is able to increase their wealth. But that also highlights that there's still a pretty large percentage of millionaires, and especially billionaires, that are not self-made. So I want us to recognize that someone like Graham Stephan or someone like me or you could work their entire lives saving money, being as frugal as possible, working 80-hour weeks, and they still may never even get close to the wealth of someone like Donald Trump or someone like the Koch brothers, who inherited their wealth and was able to build wealth primarily because they had a lot to begin with that was just given to them from their fathers.
Distinction that we should emphasize so we can dispel the notion that rich people mostly come from wealthy families and inherit their money. In fact, the vast majority of them built up their wealth the old-fashioned way, through hard work, diligent saving, and long-term investing. Now you might be wondering, just how long-term are we talking about here? Well, Business Insider found that it took the average self-made millionaire 32 years to reach a $1 million net worth. And what's even more astonishing than that is that fewer than 1% of those self-made millionaires were able to do that before the age of 40. And it's really from that data that we could begin to logically break down the mindset and the stereotype of why rich people are often perceived as cheap. The first logical conclusion from this research is that rich people didn't get rich by wasting money. What many people fail to realize is that the personality trait of someone who diligently saves and invests their money to one day become a millionaire doesn't magically change the day they become wealthy. It's often due to that person's rather frugal characteristics that made them rich in the first place, and continuing that mindset is what actually allows them to keep that money. Now secondly, speaking of keeping their money, to most millionaires, every little bit counts. This becomes very evident when you start breaking down these statistics. Take a wild guess at which income bracket is most likely to use a coupon. Just think about that for a second and comment your guess down below. Which income bracket is most likely to use a coupon? Okay, thanks for commenting. If your guess was people earning over $100,000 a year, you would be correct. That's right. A survey found that people earning over $100,000 per year are twice as likely to use a coupon than those earning under $35,000 a year. Now, $100,000 a year is a lot, but it's not necessarily millionaire level. So what about people worth more than $5 million? Surely they aren't penny pinchers too, right? Wrong. A survey conducted by Millionaire Corner found that 1 in 3 people with a net worth above $5 million shop at, you want to take a guess? The answer is Walmart. That's right, 1 out of 3 people worth more than $5 million.
He brings up a good point in claiming that a lot of millionaires are first generation and that they use coupons and that they are extremely frugal. Maybe the question that we're asking shouldn't be, is wealth inequality a horrible thing? Maybe we should be looking at illegitimate wealth inequality. Maybe we should be looking at wealth inequality where someone inherits it when they have an unfair advantage from their birth, and that is a primary reason why they're wealthy. Because you see, they pose an obstacle to others as they are out there competing against others who didn't grow up in that same situation, who don't have the same capital to start out with. If you have two real estate investors and one of them started out with a bunch of capital just from his family, he is going to be able to climb ahead and dominate other real estate investors who had to slowly build their wealth from the time they were 18 years old. And his question with the coupons, when he says, guess what percentage or guess which income group uses a coupon at the highest rates, I want you to comment in the comment section what percentage of individuals who receive an inheritance over $1 million you believe would shop at Walmart. Go ahead and comment that below.
Become a millionaire. This is why I think you'll often see someone worth millions but still negotiate a $10 overcharge on their account or ask for a discount when buying a small item, but it's those very actions that led to their wealth in the first place, and without that mentality, they wouldn't have become wealthy. So given all of this information, it's easy to see how the stereotype developed over time that rich people are cheap. And as of now, there's really been enough research and data to suggest that overall this is actually relatively true, that rich people do indeed place a higher emphasis on saving money, and it's because of that that they're rich in the first place to begin with. However, I think the bigger issue at hand is why saving money is almost frowned upon and criticized if the person who's saving is already wealthy. It really shouldn't be assumed that someone shouldn't save money just because they don't need to and can afford it. This thinking really perpetuates the idea that once you reach a certain level of wealth, money no longer matters just because it becomes a smaller amount relative to your overall net worth. It's a lot like a Business Insider article which analyzed the wealth of Jeff Bezos and compared him buying a $104,000 Range Rover as the equivalent to the average American spending $77 on a car. And this is true in terms of relative costs, but this doesn't excuse the fact that $104,000 is still worth $104,000 no matter how much money you have. And I really think that at the end of the day, from all of the data that we've discussed, calling a rich person cheap is no different than criticizing a bodybuilder for not wanting to eat a chocolate-covered donut. Wealth isn't made without careful discipline, understanding of opportunity cost, and seeking the best value possible. And if that's what you call cheap, then I recommend you check.
I like the analogy he brings up of a bodybuilder not wanting to eat a dessert and someone criticizing him for it. I think it's great to eat healthy, and so I can really appreciate this analogy. The difference here, though, when you look at inherited wealth, this would be, if you're going to use that same kind of analogy, it would be someone who literally was just born with a perfect body, and it doesn't matter what they eat, their body's just going to revert back into being in incredible shape. Because you can have wealthy individuals that have some of their money, some of their fortunes that they inherit, go into investments. They can still live a luxurious lifestyle. They can still spend a ton of money. And they're always going to make more money because they are just an owner of capital. Some of them don't even have to work. They can just make money off the capital that was earned by either their father or grandfather or whoever it was that really built the fortune of the family. I admire Graham Stevens and I like this video, and I can agree with the idea of wanting to be frugal and of wanting to save and have financial independence. But just recognize that someone like me, or most of you, or Graham Stevens, they can save their entire lives. They can be frugal. They can do everything perfect. And they may never even get a fraction of the wealth that someone who inherited their wealth, like Trump or like the Koch brothers, can get. Go ahead and like my video and subscribe. Thanks.